3 Series BMWs have often been touted as some of the most practical, reliable, as well as fun-loving BMWs. But unfortunately, there's been a host of very unreliable ones. Guess what? Today, you're in luck because I'm going to share a list of 5 of the most reliable 3 Series BMWs on the market today that you can buy to enjoy hours and miles of fun and frivolity. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. And the first one on the list is clearly a classic just because it's made its own reputation. Right there, we're looking at the BMW E46 generation. That's from 99 to 2005. Features a host of different engines and transmissions. 5 6-speed manual autos available, double Vano system. The one thing you'll notice with the E46 specifically, it's got a little bit cleaner looking front end on it. The bumper is a little bit revised and certainly an update from the outgoing E36. And as you look around, yeah, you get upgraded rims and the grill's a little bit cleaner looking. Go down the side, of course, you have this nicer trim. You'll notice that's part of the E46. You've got a different mirror than the E36, and you've got the big sunroof, so it's a great car all the way around as well. The taillights give it away. This is clearly the E46. Also with the smoother bumper look, you don't have as much of the black bumper finishing, and the interior is quite clean and well wearing. Now remember, this had the double Vanos variable valve timing, so it was very functional, had great power through the entire rev range, as well as made good power. The M52 and the M54, which is the classic in the 330, were amazing straight 6 engines that made great power, linear power bands. Of course, the 316, 318, 320, 325, 328, 330, all great engines. You could also get an M version of this, which was all reliable. So this is clearly a classic and ultra dependable. And the next one that's ultra reliable is the car that's right over here. Right there, we're looking at the BMW E90. That's right, 2004 to 2013 was roughly the year you would find these generations. Now, there is a caveat with this particular generation. They have some of the greatest engines available. Yes, you can get the 323, 325, 328, 330, and even some of the 4-cylinder engines in these generations. Now, you'll notice from the E46, the E90 here is quite different. You'll notice a much more revised integrated bumper setup. It's much more blended. It's a nicer, cleaner look. For sure, the headlights are a lot more streamlined and have a little more design theme to them. You still have basically your kidney grills there. And a lot of the design here, the rocker panels are a lot cleaner and smoother. You do get alloy wheels here, and you do get a pretty standard mirror. Sunroof, pretty standard there. And of course, soft touch handles all the way along, of course, circling around. Look at the taillights. It's pretty traditional, but it's that 335 with the dual pipes. That's the problem. That's right. Anything with the 335 designation is one you want to stay away from. The earlier generations actually had the N54. I had one. It's a disaster. Coolant leaks, water pump, thermostat, high pressure fuel pumps were gone. Injectors were going, wastegate rattle. I mean, it was a constant barrage of oil, coolant leaks, and just catastrophic check engine lights. So stay away from the N54, but the engines that are ultra reliable when they're coupled up with these 6-speed auto and manual gearboxes are quite simply the N52 and the N53 straight 6 engine. Absolutely bulletproof. These cars are reliable when you get into the 325, 328, and 330 generation of vehicles like this, which came later. These are ultra reliable. And again, stick with the manual gearbox. You can't go wrong. The autos are pretty reliable as well with the ZF Auto, but you definitely can't miss the boat on reliability with the E90. And this one's next. So from 1982 to 1994 is the E30 generation. Yeah, you could get an all-wheel drive in certain models. You could even get a diesel engine. You can get naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine and of course the high-strung M engine, which was also a 4-cylinder. But the real sweethearts were the inline 6s, the 325E, the 325i, IS, and as well 328s later on. These were great engines. Look at the style. That's where you get your classic angel eye and your front grille there. Very, very classic original BMW. Super reliable. The M20 engine is that straight 6 that everybody needs and wants because it's just so dependable. These cars are still on the road because they're easy to fix, easy to maintain, and they just barely ever break. The BMW E30, what a beauty. And right there's the next car on our list. This is the E36. Yeah, what is this? Clearly one of the most reliable. What we're looking at here is the M3 version. Now, the M3 isn't necessarily the most reliable version of the E36 body style, but it is in fact the hot rod. Either way, these cars had a lot of great elements. You can get a 5 or 6-speed manual gearbox, 4 or 5-speed automatic transmission, And these engines had the single Vanos system, which is the variable valve timing, so it allowed the car to get enough punch off the hop, but enough breathing up top. So it had a good drivability, the performance was nice and linear, and the car is pre-OBD2. So in other words, it didn't have all the extra complexity. It was still a fairly standard design in terms of the code and the protocol, and when you're actually going into troubleshoot, these cars were very simple. You could fix these at home. You didn't need a ton of diagnostic equipment. You just needed a basic set of tools. Now, of course, if you look at this car, it does look quite different from the E30, which came before this, was a lot more squared. Then the E46 after was a lot more rounded. As you can see, these cars here had a much more squared corner. You did have the angel eyes, but they're old school headlights. You did typically have that nice little kidney grille up front, but as you circle down, pretty standard here. And of course, the rocker panel flares out nicely. It's beautiful, simple little handles, and you do get a sunroof on these cars too. Look at the taillights, quite basic, but there you go. Very simple, very basic, and a nice transition from the E30. And the even nicer thing is the fact that they're ultra reliable. It's just an easy car to own, operate. You spring a coolant leak, you can fix it at home. It's not a problem. The E36 is definitely one of the most reliable pieces with that beautiful M50 and M52 engine. And lastly, we have what is arguably one of the best in history for BMW for reliability and certainly for performance. And we're looking for the G20 edition. And what we're looking at here is a version of that. Absolutely gorgeous, and you'll notice the latest and the greatest has gone through a recent face change and other changes, but basically what we're looking at here is the M340. That means it's the Turbo 6 called the B58 engine, which is arguably one of BMW's finest, most reliable engines that you'll find anywhere. Now they also have the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, which is bulletproof. That engine seems to be far better, far more reliable, and producing much more power than the outgoing N55 and certainly the N54. You do have some great grille detail on there, and of course the beautiful sight lines on there. You'll notice laser cut wheels, red calipers, M badging, nice flip away mirrors, and big sunroof. The interior is nice and clean and tidy, and the latest technology all driven in there. And this is BMW 3 Series at its finest, the latest, the greatest. Now, not only can you get the turbo 3-liter 6-cylinder engine that starts around 335 horsepower, but you can also get the turbo 2-liter engine, which makes about 255 horsepower in the B48 engine, which is their 4-cylinder, also ultra reliable. Can't go wrong with this car. Lots of enhancements, improvements, and definitely reliability is top shelf. And so a big part of the BMW's reliability in this latest drivetrain is they got rid of the electric water pump, put a mechanical special in there first. So of course it's more reliable and easier to change for lower cost. We also have better bottom end. We have better cooling, better injection systems. So a lot of the problems you saw in the outgoing versions are gone and pretty much all eliminated. Of course, the latest and greatest, you'll notice it still has that BMW theme, but as you can tell, oof, headlights are different, grille's different, and overall still carries the overall design theme, but it is quite different in every aspect. And with all of that said, check that out. The most reliable 5 Series BMWs that you can buy in history. Hope to see each and every one on the next one. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.